Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. I still sound like I'm still recovering. I feel good, just don't sound great. And I think it's just my nose is partially plugged. But I feel good, and that's what matters. And I can speak. And I don't sound like I'm going to voice crack every 5 seconds. And I just had a banger Firehouse sub, so I'm prepped, I'm ready. Let's get into the video. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about stacking items, and then I'm also going to be talking about the new items, whether they are glyphs or just new items in general. And then maybe towards the end, I'll also talk about the starter items, because I think those items are actually more exciting than the other changes. Stacking items are now something where you get them from just damaging minions and gods. I wish I just set it up here, but all of them say it. So you gain stacks by dealing a total of 30,000 damage to gods or minions, and the max stacks are from 75 down to 50. You now gain 20 power, 10 pen, and 7.5% physical lifesteal from Dev's Gloves. Transcendence, gain stacks by dealing 35,000, gain 15 mana per stack, gain a total of 750 mana. Book of Thoth, 45,000 damage, max stacks up to 100, base mana down 50, 6 mana per stack, and gain a total of 600 mana. Warlocks, also same thing. I'm not going to just repeat that one also. So the exciting thing about these items is it is now something you can just buy before like going to a team fight instead of having to buy it before going and farming more. I think one, Dev's Gloves is still a rush item, I think, but the things that stick out to me is 2, Transcendence can be a mid-game pickup, Warlocks can be a mid-game pickup, and Book can be a mid-game pickup. These items are no longer this go it first or don't go it at all items, and I think it's most exciting with Warlocks. I saw Venom play a game earlier where he went Warlocks, I think it was 4th, because he went Gem, Chronos Pendant, Soul Gem, Reaver, Warlock. So yeah, 4th item, 5th if you're counting the starter item. And he got it stacked really quickly, and getting this massive spike like Warlocks, giving you 300 health, power on top of it, pen. It looks really good heading into the late game. So I think it'll be interesting to see where it lands in the meta, if it becomes a rush item or not. I don't think it is, because it takes you so long to actually get those stacks online early because you don't do any damage. I could really see like a Sands, Chronos Pendant, Warlock staff, or Gem, Chronos Pendant, Warlock staff, and see how that feels, because I think Warlocks is a really bad first item, but I think 2nd, 3rd, 4th even, I think it could be sick. And I think the same thing can be said for Book of Thoth. Again, it takes you really long to get these stacks because of how little damage you're doing, but finishing the item and getting power, infinite mana, and pen is always going to be good. Warlocks is just never a good first item, which makes it feel bad, but I think there's potential now for it to be later. Transcendence is another one where Jotuns is such a powerful, OP, phenomenal first item, and Atalantis is the same thing, just great first item. Then maybe you can go like Trans second, because it gives pen now instead of cooldown. Like a Jotun's Trans or an Ata's Trans sounds incredible. I think it is a bad first item because it takes you so long to stack it, and you're playing jungle, so you want to get these early fights and start dominating. And then the same thing can kind of be said for like maybe Ulers, where they go Jotuns into Transcendence to get that infinite mana, or Scotties, where they can go, I can't remember the new Curse Glove, whatever's the new Bound Gauntlet item to get some health. I think it'll be interesting with Trans too. I do think Devs is still a first item because it just gives you everything you really need. Power, gives you lifesteal, and then it also just scales well into the late game. And Hunters really only care about their late game. They don't care how strong they are early. So if Devs is still good, I think it'll still be a first item. And now with that, the new items, and by new I mean items that are being brought back. 3 Soul Lane items: Void Shield, Void Domaru, and Blackthorn Hammer. So starting with Void Shield, this is going to be a good item. And actually, we'll talk about these two together. These are going to be good items, full stop. The problem I see is that people are like auto building these every game. These are good against tanks. These items are good against tanks. If you're playing Void Shield and you're diving the enemy backline and their ADC has 60 prots, you're shredding 6 of those prots, or you're getting rid of 6 of those prots. That's pretty ineffective, and there's better items to be going, like Binding. But Void Shield, when you're trying to kill frontliners, or you're trying to kill the support, or the backliners have a Mantle and Sands of Time, like we saw from Zeus at Worlds. Yeah, maybe Void Shield is actually good because they've got 160 protections. Shredding away 16 of them is actually going to be pretty effective. So don't think of these as auto-buy items. Think of them as if you want to be killing the enemy's frontline, which, full stop, again, putting it out there, it's never bad to kill frontliners. But if you're playing to dive the enemy's backline, you're playing tier, and you're trying to kill the backliners, the Void Shield isn't going to be doing too much. Binding a lot of times is going to be better. But if you're playing to kill frontliners, these 2 items are incredible. Blackthorn Hammer, this item is terrible. I think it is one of the worst items in the game. This item is a relic of the past, and it is brought back in its worst form. It is too expensive for average stats and an okay passive. The passive is actually good. I'll say the passive is good. I won't say okay. But you compare this to the other hammers. So comparing it just outright to Sekhmet's. 35, 250, and 10% cooldown. 35, 150, 15 MP5, 10% cooldown, and a passive. Yeah, you can only use this when you're healing, but still noticeable, or like a big difference in if you're playing a healer, you should just go Sekhmet instead. Blackthorn is not something you should think of. Okay, well, maybe you're not playing a healer. Maybe you're playing something like Gilgamesh. Well, maybe Blackthorn or Frostbound's a better option. 35 health, or 35 power, 200 health, HP 5 and MP5. So survivability, because there's no HP 5, MP5 here. And then on top of that, you're also getting this passive, and it's cheaper. Okay, well, this one you're getting 10% cooldown. Okay, maybe you really value that cooldown, and Frostbound isn't enough. Well, Runeforged Hammer, 40 power, 150 health, HP 5, MP5, and probably one of the best passives in the game, and also upgrades into glyphs. So if you are a 100% reliant on cooldown character and you need this item or something like this, power and health, maybe. Even then, something like just going like Bluestone into Breastplate is just going to have more value, because you're just going to be trading more. You're going to be using the Bluestone to trade. Breastplate is giving you better trading potential. It's giving you more cooldown, and it's cheaper. Glads is also another thing where, okay, well, maybe you want to do more damage. Well, Glads is cheaper. It's going to be doing just as much damage. You'll be having a lot more survivability. And you'll also be doing the same amount of abilities because you have the same amount of cooldown. So I think Blackthorn is just terrible. I think it is so bad. It needs to go down to like 2,200 gold, and then I think maybe. But as is, I think it's a very bad item. And then lastly, the two glyphs. Venom Deathbringer and Heavy Executioner are removed. And Venom Deathbringer has now been moved to Venom Executioner, which is poisoning them and reducing their healing and shielding. I hate that like Deathbringer and Exia are the items that have glyphs, because they're just kind of auto-bot in a lot of games anyway. And I kind of hate that, because if you're building Executioner and your team is reliant on anti-heal, okay, or relying on the enemy team is relying on healing, okay, well, I'll just buy this. If they're not, okay, I'll just go into the other one. And then we've probably heard about this item a lot. Devoted Deathbringer. One, I think the item is maybe a little bit too strong. But two, I think that current build is really only good against junglers. And unless you're like a jungler or you're like a diving squishy, you shouldn't be worried about this item. You should never be trading 1v1 as a hunter into another hunter in the late game. And if you're playing a solo laner, you should be itemizing to counter this character. The build, as far as I know, is this build right here. 20% pen. That man said, so I've been building the OP crit build, and the enemy could call and actually counter build when I crit him for 140 even with FG. Crazy what happens when tanks build tanky. Okay, so tanks built tanky. The tanks built tanky just had 3.5 defense items, but one of them was spectral. If you build spectral into this with just like 3 items like this, like there is nothing a hunter can do with this build. This build is generally overrated. However, if you're not playing a tank solo laner, if you're playing something squishier, yeah, the tank build or that build will probably look busted, but I do think it's, like I said, a little bit strong, but I also think people are just playing into it poorly. And then lastly, I want to touch on the item starters balance. Mannequins loses protections, but it gains attack speed, which is really interesting. I think it makes it enticing, because if you're playing stuff like Osiris and you're playing something like Erlang, you make a lot better use of those protections. But if you're playing something like Arachne or... Okay, looking at these, it looks like most of these characters wouldn't build it anyway, but I guess maybe just Arachne likes this as is. Mannequin's Hidden Blade loses the damage reduction but gets attack speed, and the decreased slow duration only lasts 3 seconds, but it's a lot stronger. Mannequin's Mace also gets 20% attack speed. Eye of the Jungle loses the attack speed, gets the protections, and Protector of the Jungle loses the attack speed, gets slightly less protections, but also gets magical protections. The balance to jungle, I think, is a little bit different now, because Eye is now like the more tank jungle item. So now, is this going to be built by the Osiris's, the Erlangs, or is it going to be built by like Ravens and guys that want to be building a little bit more tanky without having to rely on that attack speed? And the last thing I want to touch on is Spartan Flag, because this one's really exciting to me. This item is something I'm going to be building a lot when it first drops. I'm thinking this will be very strong. Do I think it'll be OP? No. But I think giving it a little bit more attack speed, giving it protection, so when you actually build it, you're going to be tankier. I think this will be so good, and I'm excited to get it tried up. You can sit in Fire Pit or sit in Gold Pick, poke somebody, and then get this flag that gives you extra power and extra attack speed. So it allows you to burn a little bit more. Again, do I think it's better than War Flag or War Banner? Maybe. I think they do different things. But generally, I think War Banner is still going to be a little bit better. But I think this one just kind of gives its own little niche now, which is what it's always really needed. That's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.